Well, this is another example of Obama betraying what you would think is a Democrat idea, and that's the fact that the planet is warming and we're all going to die because of climate change. We're going to talk about the Keystone pipeline. So, Greg, you recently wrote a column for Vice about the Keystone's pipeline and none other than the Koch brothers. Tell us all about it.
Right. People have been looking for the Koch connection to the Keystone XL pipeline for years. By the way, for those who don't know what the Keystone XL pipeline, it is segments of pipe that will connect Alberta, Canada, send tar sands oil, this filthy crap, which is this goo. It's basically melted asphalt, which will then be melted down and mixed and put in pipes and sent to Houston, Texas, down to the Gulf Coast in Corpus Christi in Texas. Now, the first question you have to ask is, why the heck are we running a pipeline to Texas? Right? Excuse me, unless I've heard correctly, it ain't Iowa. This is the center. This is the third largest producer of oil in the United States after Alaska, and number one, by the way, is South Dakota. In fact, weirdly, the pipe literally bypasses the world's new largest supply of oil, which is South Dakota, by the way. And so it'll bypass American oil, right, to go down to Corpus Christi and then be cracked into gasoline, which will be shipped to the Caribbean. None of this has to do with American energy independence. Now, why are we doing this? And the answer, I know Newt Gingrich says to make us energy independent, so we don't have to depend on foreign oil, because he believes, of course, that Canada is a suburb of Seattle. But that's another issue. It's actually a foreign country, believe it or not. Most Canadians don't know that, but I'm informing you. Now, so why are we using filthy foreign oil and literally bypassing lighter, not quite so polluting oil from South Dakota and from Texas itself, obviously? And the answer is because there's a monster giant refinery in Corpus Christi owned by none other than the Koch brothers, David and Charles, each worth $20 billion, but that ain't enough for them. The Keystone XL pipeline will allow the melting of the Alberta tar sands by itself. Those tar sands by themselves will increase the temperature of the planet by 0.4 centigrade. And for those of you who have a calculator, that's close to 1 degree Fahrenheit. If we put in this pipeline, we're literally going to raise the temperature of the planet by a degree. Now, that might not sound like much, especially if you're shivering as I am today. But in fact, in global warming terms, that's like serious, bad, get your water wings out news. Now, that's all. So in other words, we are building this pipeline. We're considering having this horrible pipeline come through so that the Koch brothers can get this oil to their Corpus Christi refinery. Now you may say, wait, they're in Texas? Can't they just go outside and dig a hole and get some oil? Yes, except that refineries are very specialized machines, by the way. These filth factories, in fact, require very special types of oil. And the Corpus Christi Koch refinery can only handle heavy crude. And so, but where were they getting it until the XL? What's the problem? The answer is that they're getting heavy crude from a heavy dude named Hugo Chavez. The oil at the Corpus Christi Koch refinery all comes from Venezuela. Now, they don't like Chavez. They've tried to assassinate him. The U.S. government's tried to overthrow him. They've had failed coups d'etats. They can't get rid of him. They don't care about whether Chavez is in love with Castro. They don't care if they say, oh, he's a communist, he's a socialist. They don't care about that. What they care about is that he actually charges a premium for his oil. It is some of the most expensive oil in the world, his heavy crude, which is unusual. It's just that he's got the only supply of it, right? So the Kochs have been paying a premium, $33 a barrel above what they would pay to Canada. $33 a barrel. So they say, look, we don't care if the Keystone pipeline cooks the planet and runs through a church and pours out on endangered species. Give us our oil. And so that's why we are going to build, and put your money on it right now, we are going to build the XL pipeline so that the Kochs can get their filthy glop for their refinery. They will make an extra nearly $3 billion a year for 20 years when that pipe is completed.
Unbelievable, and again, and we're talking about the fact that this is a pipeline that if this tar sands oil is extracted, NASA's leading scientist James Hansen has said it is, quote, game over for the environment, and the people who are going to be profiting off it is the Koch brothers. So obviously, Barack Obama is the one who is going to ultimately approve this pipeline to help A, destroy the planet, and B, enrich the Koch brothers.
Well, yeah, because see, one thing that people don't understand, people say, oh, wait, but don't the Kochs, which spent $250 million backing Republicans through their PAC called Americans for Prosperity, aren't they, like, Republicans? No, they aren't. David Koch was going to run for governor of Kansas as a Democrat. And Bill Clinton, where did Bill Clinton come from? I told you about, Barry Obama was Penny Pritzker's kid. But who created Bill Clinton? He and Al Gore were created by something called the Democratic Leadership Council. He was just some governor from Dogpatch, Arkansas, right? So they created this guy. The right-wing Democratic Leadership Council was formed with a $100,000 donation from the Kochs. That's how it happens. They're not Democrats, they're not Republicans. They don't bet on horses. They own the whole damn racetrack. That's why they are billionaires and you aren't. So they own it all. And if you really think for a minute that Barack Obama and Penny Pritzker, who's holding his remote control, and Robert Rubin, and the oil industry, and J.P. Morgan, that these guys are going to let Barack Obama stand on the Koch's pipe, you got to be kidding. The only thing that will do it for them, since Hugo Chavez is dying, he may not be here next week, and is that there will be this will give them an opportunity to seize Venezuela's oil and get it cheap. And that might be the game, by the way. This is all about getting, because we're trying to wipe out Chavez and his revolution, because it'll be there whether he's alive or not. And by the way, again, I have chapters on the Kochs, who I've been tracking as an investigator for 18 years. It's called Petroleum Porn, the Triple XL Pipeline, and it is in Billionaires and Ballot Bandits. It's a terrific book by a guy named
Greg Palast, the one who I'm talking to. Greg Palast, the investigative journalist, filmmaker, and as Greg so modestly said, he is the author of Billionaires and Ballot Bandits. It really is a great book. It's a wonderful piece. You can find it at gregpalast.com. Greg, as always, my friend, horrific stuff we're talking about, but unbelievably important. We have to be aware of it. So thanks a lot for your reporting, and thanks for being on the show again.
Matt, you're a giant.